Hello and welcome to the Cowan Waves podcast. I'm Dallas Cowan, and today I am joined by Cliff Jones. And I'm excited about this episode today because Cliff and I have been talking. I don't even know how we met. I was trying to think about it. Do you remember? I remember where I met you in person for the first time.
I think it was through Jonathan Cottrell or someone in the community who said we should get to know each other, at which point I reached out. It was 5 years ago. I forget, honestly, but it's been a while. We have some very similar interests.
Yeah, passions. And I remember I think we met at Greyhawk for breakfast.
We did. Coffee.
And it was great. And ever since I met you, Cliff, I mean, it was just so fun to hear your story and what you were pursuing. And we've had conversations back and forth over the years. And during this last conversation that we had, and you doing some really cool work with millennials and younger guys, I was like, you know what? I want you to have you on the podcast because the conversations we're having, I think, need to be talked about, out loud. And so, so I'm just excited to have you here and just hear more about your story and what you're doing just to help people. Because I think on the podcast, thinking back on the people that I've interviewed, everyone has their unique way of helping, but they're helping. They're pursuing it, whether it's, NFL performance coaches or PGA performance coaches or therapists. So, you fit into that category of seeing things that are broken in this world and going, okay, how can I contribute to this? How can I contribute to the mending of the world? So no, I'm just excited for today. So I'd love for you just kind of tell the audience of just like more about yourself.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Dallas. I'm a huge Comwaves fan and, customer, I guess you'd say.
You got a call box. Here we go.
Yeah. So I believe it. Look, I'm beyond thank you for the conversation. I think the context we wanted to talk the most was my background as a longtime married guy, a father, a small business guy, community guy, a faith guy, and in the context of mental health that we experience in the workplace or not. I mean, my consulting context, my coaching, teaching, adding value context is beyond being a family guy and a writer is mentoring. And the kind of mentoring I've been doing reminds me of mentoring a younger me 30 years ago. These are late 20s, early 30, successful, many cases, technology executives, financial executives, professionals, motivated, new families, new marriages, relationships, new stresses, financial, psychological, emotional, in our culture. So that's the context we were going to talk about. Anything I do, from writing the Clarity Letter, which is my weekly newsletter I've been doing for a long time. You can find me on Medium. I just finished a new book called Shift Yourself, Change Your Career. It's a career guide. It's on Amazon. And the reason I do that stuff is, as you mentioned at the top, to be part of the solution. I've been part of the problem, had my problems. Like we said at the top before we started recording, being human fundamentally is challenging. It's hard. All of us. And so the question is, I love the big questions, first order questions. Why are we here? How are we supposed to make sense of this place? What's my purpose? How do I find meaning at work? And these are the questions these younger executives have. Hey, I'm making $250 a year in Amazon, but I'm dead inside. I'm stressed out. It's now my technology people all tell me it's mind-numbing work. A lot of their role is being dramatically changed from technology, AI standpoint. They know it. The good ones know it. The good ones are working with AI. They're as a technologist. And so it's more the life, career, existential, how do I chop wood, carry water? How do I not stress out about no meaning at work? 70% of people, as you know, Gallup studies year after year, 70+% of us in the workforce doing the best we can to make ends meet, A lot of us paycheck to paycheck. And that in and of itself is stressful. A lot of us losing jobs. My brother just lost a job, 20 years, six-figure executive with a international company that's downsizing, right-sizing, offshoring. And so you as a family guy, you as a business builder, an architect, a technologist, big community guy, God guy, we hit it off right away.
Absolutely. No, I think you're in such an interesting space. I actually, as you're saying that, I had a question come up is what have you, because you talked about you're talking to your 30-year-old self.
Mm-hmm.
You're helping your, but a lot has happened since then, I would
Yeah.
imagine. So what do you see as the biggest, I want to say two things because I want to stay positive too, because we can stay in the negative. We can be like, what are the biggest problems? What are the biggest things? But what are the biggest opportunities
Mm-hmm.
for young men?
Yeah.
And what are the biggest problems? Let's go both sides of that.
Yeah. So in the problem, we could see the opportunity. The purpose in my direct experience of all my suffering, self-induced mostly as an entrepreneur, got married young, had kids young, built a business from a young age, stressful stuff. It was to achieve emotional maturity, emotional sobriety, emotional awareness, self-awareness, and emotional stability for myself and those I'm living around or working with. So in that context, the biggest challenge is, okay, what am I going to work for every day? Am I actually doing anything that's useful? So I work with Generation X and millennials predominantly. I'm at the tail end of the boomers. And the crux of their frustration is, am I doing this for any particular reason? Why am I building this when, a guy I meet with every other week, we met yesterday, same deal. I'm working on this project, big company, got acquired, technology guy. We're building stuff, and I see one way of doing it, and nobody wants to, and nothing I do really matters. So why am I here? And what we talk about is being okay not knowing why we're here. It's okay not to know. It's very uncomfortable for us not to know, but there's a whole body of work around the art of not knowing. And for me, that's trusting that there is a power through and of and around me I struggle and strive to understand, that I know loves me and wants the best for me, and that if I can just sit in not knowing, not being sure what to do for a job, right, or a relationship, where financially, a lot of us are under inordinate financial strain. My clients are generally paid well. They're generally successful and motivated enough to hire an executive, somebody to professionally guide them. And, they work with therapists too. I'm not a therapist. I am a mentor, a guide. I share my experiences. There's a coaching aspect to what I do, holding up that mirror, doing discovery, asking questions. People often say, man, I don't know why I just told you my life story. You get this, I'm sure, interviewing the way you do. We can elicit that trust, that bond, that open, truthful, transparent communication so that we can be vulnerable and we can talk about how we're feeling and honor those feelings and know we're not necessarily those feelings, and those feelings don't need to own us. Like, well, it's a lot of us could be angry about certain things at any time. It's normal emotion, but how we manage or process it makes all the difference for us and people we work or live with. So it's anxiety. It's my coachees are not lonely, but they have relationship struggles. I've been married to this woman for 5 years, and I'm not sure she's the right woman. In fact, I've written her a letter, and it's a separation letter, and she can have anything she wants, but I really just don't think I love her, and this is what God wants for me. And so, all right, I'm like, all right, have you prayed on it? Have you really waited? Have you read this? Have you thought about that? What are your dreams like? What does your heart tell you? Delivers the letter, and she's like, oh, well, hey, I have a letter too. And I want the same thing. And they're like, oh, wow, okay. So you're willing to talk. I'm willing to talk. Now we know where we each stand. Let's talk about this. What's up? Right? What are you feeling? And it opened a whole dialogue where they were like, you know what? We can work through this.
It's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. So, yeah, career, money, the opportunity is life is hard. Life is a school. I'm convinced it's a school for souls. We have a lot on our plates. We are not as in control as we think we are. But what I mean by that is about 10% of our operating system is conscious. Most of what we do is unconscious. Breathing, most of us don't think about breathing, but we're breathing. We're clotting blood. We're socially working through our anxieties, which we all have, by the way. And that's the other thing I'm telling younger me's. It's the same. Fundamentally, life is hard. Kids have anxiety. It's hard learning to be an adult. It's hard learning to be who we think we're supposed to be versus what other people want us to be. It's hard to make a living wage. It's hard
As
to interview for jobs.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up some really good points about the identifying and like, yes, this is hard. Where if something isn't hard, then I must be doing something wrong. Kind of mentality of, well, I have anxiety about this, and with what we try to do with Calm Waves is to be able to go, okay, how do you not control it, but know that it's there, but do things that help mitigate it or turn it down. I mean, we talk about. I know this is a word that's thrown out, so I don't want to meditation or quiet places or things like that, where you're able to take time away. I think we live in a world where we're connected so much with news and events that we've never been connected. Like the hardwire of the body has never been built to do this as much. Um, it takes 70 years ago of just how news was sent and how you can think something and go, oh, I can find that out right now. Like that's what, in my own world is kind of like, I can go, I wonder about this. I can go look it up. Like now, rather than being like, huh, all right, maybe I'll research that one day type of a thing. So I think that's a very interesting thing. And you brought up meaning. I want to talk about a little about meaning, because I think when I loved how you went back to like first principles of walking somebody through that, what's the purpose of life? Because I think and I would love to hear your experience with that, because I think when you have these other stresses of life and you can go back to that first principles, what's my meaning? Why am I here? What's
Yeah.
going?
The answers to the big questions. And
Yeah.
so the big reveal in my humble experience is it's to love. What would be seemingly otherwise impossible to love. For example, as a father, our kids have done stuff we don't like. When we were kids, we did things our parents didn't like. And the whole time, we love them. We don't even have to think about, do we love them? We just love them. That is unconditional love. And how do we sustain that for ourselves? I ask everybody routinely, who says things worse to you than you say to yourself? Who trash talks? Who does the most trash talking in your mind throughout the day? Saying negative things. And where are those loops? And so I have a process for it's called shift. And the first is self-awareness. We become self-aware. We're the only animal that can be self-aware. Dolphins are just, right? I mean, we're the only animal that can say, hey, I am Cliff, I am a dad, whatever. We have identities. We can observe those identities, and becoming aware of who we are requires time to learn who we're not. So we've all had a job we don't like. And what's the purpose of having that job we don't like? Well, it's to learn as much as we can to be a great worker, and then to figure out what works for us, what we like and what we don't like, so that we can move more towards what we do like and what gives us joy and what makes a difference for others. Because I grew up working in restaurants. So that self-awareness is an evolutionary aspect to a human being able to be stopping and saying, hey, wait a minute, this is frustrating, or I'm sad, I'm lonely, I don't like feeling this way, I need to talk about it. Men especially, young men, So the young men I coach, they learn to be open, honest about the feeling, because if you can be self-aware of that feeling and where it's showing up, like my impatience used to show up as I call it a Scud missile. A heat right in the solar plexus, and if that would launch, it would make no friends. And to become self-aware of how it harms me to say something out of anger or spite, because I'm not able to pause when agitated, and to be aware of the damage around us. It's the first step in changing and dealing with the tough things that would otherwise be impossible to love. Losing someone we love in a tragic accident. How do we forgive? Forgiveness, powerful thing. So,
I think
yeah,
that I love how you said, talk about self-awareness. I think and the negative thoughts, or not negative voice, Inner Game of Tennis, Tim Galway, one of my favorite books,
yeah,
talks about coach one, coach two. You've got and coach one is the critical coach.
hmm
So when I play pickleball and I go, Dallas, you hit a bad shot, who am I talking to? Who's coaching, who's one. And
yeah.
that's a simple thing, but it's also a thing of driving the world down the road and go to, you're not enough. Oh, where?
We can, yeah. We just finished a little book study for some guys I mentor, and we finished The Power of the Subconscious Mind by
Yeah.
Joseph Murphy. We can
Yeah.
reprogram the operating system.
And I think
Affirmations, prayers,
100,
contemplation, meditation, mindfulness. All of these are
and
similar.
I think that's so important. Like what you're talking about is so important, because I think when you don't have those rhythms of those things to do, you don't know what to do with that as well. You can go, if you're not training in those things, I am enough, I am chosen, I am loved, I am doing those things. When that self-doubt comes in, you're not enough. You go, no, I know what I am.
Yeah, I'm not buying that. Yeah,
I'm not
so I can
buying.
let shame or doubt or fear or a
Correct.
little sadness show up, but I'm not going to let it move in.
And it's okay. I mean, we talk about, I have a 6-year-old and an 18-year-old, and I think too, it's also knowing, like, you're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to be
Yeah, we're
disappointed.
going to be sad at times. Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm disappointed.
hmm
Cool. Like you're allowed to have these emotions that are negative, but if you can come out of them, all right, I'm not sad anymore. I'm not going to do these types of things, but not to go, well, I shouldn't be sad.
Yeah.
Sad. I remember the big thing when I went to therapy from the group home. I remember we'd have we'd have a 13-year-old, and some of them would just like push my buttons. Like they said things that I'm like, how did you know that was like my deepest, darkest thing? Like I would suppress my joy. I would just be like, how do I just be numb? Because I would get angry and I'd be like, I'm not supposed to be angry. And my therapist told me, he was like, being angry is not a bad emotion. It's what you do with it. And that was like one of the most freeing things, because I'm not an angry person, but I was like, oh, I'm allowed to be angry. I'm allowed to be like, oh, this makes me angry and do this. So now I was able to have this anger and this joy going back and forth. So it was much more freeing, is to go, "Yeah, I can be able to say, shoot, dang it. And this makes me angry. But if I can come out of that, okay. So anyway, so I think so you talk about shift. So that's your framework, which I love. I love getting into frameworks a lot more and having the course. So as is self-awareness, what's next?
Yeah. Higher understanding. So it's about shifting our consciousness as if our mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So higher understanding, self-awareness is one, higher understanding, introspection, the ability to contemplate, meditate. These things are through all the great world religion, spiritual texts, basically saying the same thing. We have this ability to be still and prayerful and grateful and reverent, respectful, kind, compassionate, loving. And in order to be those things, we have to learn to process the tough stuff, the fear, the shame, the guilt, the betrayal. And therein lies the power of using life from the perspective of a school to learn how to be all loving and giving, not in a self deprecating, neglectful way, but in a wholesome way. And so we have some challenges as a culture. We are products of the culture. So self-awareness, higher understanding, introspection. Then it's focus intention. What do we want? People, we generally, especially younger people, and I say, what do you want? They are not so sure. And there's probably been a time in your life where you weren't sure what you wanted or what was next. And there's an element of not knowing, and then the element of introspection, contemplation, research, networking, reaching out, opening, building new relationships, creating new opportunities, reading new things, taking new classes, getting involved in service in the community or through a church, to get out of our propensity to isolate and be alone, because loneliness is a big deal. Anxiety is a big deal. Divisiveness is, and these are all byproducts of, not in a mean way, but in a pragmatic way, of ignorance. If we knew better, we would do better. And so we become a product of a culture that espouses, look good, feel good, and we confuse entertainment for sustenance, goodness, wholeness. And so the T focus, what do we want? Well, I want to be peaceful. I want to be aware of my emotions. I want to be able to handle anything that God throws my way. I want to be the best human I can be, and I know I'm going to fall down. And then every day, being able to write a script and be prayerful and mindful and willing and open and honest and caring and giving and creative. I'm going to stay healthy and be of service to others and do things that fire me up. And that's the measure, is the feeling, the amount of energy we have. For example, you showed up as I did with a certain amount of energy before we started talking today. One of my great measures of am I doing the right work is, do I have more energy at the end of a conversation like this or less? And so when I start a coaching call, as I did yesterday, had some stuff like family stuff going on as the patriarch. We're working through an opportunity to grow spiritually, a lot of social, all grow in all ways. Um, I still have to focus on my own fundamentals and then being of service. And at the end of that call, I have more energy than when I started. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. There's that mutual giving and taking in the transformation of from lower self to higher self.
It's so, I love that you said what gives you more energy, because I think that's, I mean, basic of something. If you can, someone could walk away today and go, I have more energy doing this. I think I'd love to get your take on this too, because you talked about like taking care of yourself. And I think there's different ways to do that. And sometimes it can sound, especially if you're a dad and you're trying to, figure this out of like, I'm working, I've got 2 kids at home, I've got, something to take care of. Like being able to take that time away is sometimes hard. I mean, I've talked to dads that they're like, yeah, I go from, I own my own business, 6 a.m. to this, and then I come home and I'm doing this. So in that situation, for somebody like that, how do you help them with that process of, and because self-care has kind of can be not good. It can be an excuse. I can't do this because it's too, whatever it is. But how do you think there's a healthy way to be able to tell somebody you take care of yourself so you can show up for others?
Well, so it's inherent in certain people to be active physically, to eat well,
Mm.
built in, and it's not for others. So we all become a product of the culture, the family we grew up in. So the first question is, all right, what fundamentally do we have as a toolkit, understanding of what it takes to be healthy of mind and body, because they're directly related. And then in the unlikely event we are hurt or sick, what's the quickest path to healing? Because we don't have a health care problem as much as we have a problem taking care of our health.
Mm.
And that may sound critical, but I don't want it to come from a place of me being critical of others, because I've made bad health choices.
Mm-hmm.
But if we make better lifestyle choices and we stay relatively active, walking, cycling, simple things.
Well, goes back to your other point about ignorance of they may not know, but if someone's curious, hey, by the way, did you know this?
Huge.
Like I think that's where the other side of ignorance is curiosity
Yeah.
and being able to go, yeah, I like ignorance. I didn't know this. Didn't know that what I was doing was detrimental to my health in this way.
Yeah, and so curiosity is bench. It's very closely related to intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And highly intelligent people, artists, writers, creatives, entrepreneurs, risk takers tend to be inordinately curious and then creative, playful, which is a mindset. It can be trained, and in some cases it's inherent, but to figure out what you want to do is really, you have to be grateful for what you have now. I think you can't be. It's hard to know what you want until you're grateful for what you've got, including the things that are hard lessons that we could learn from. And it's like, okay, I don't like this. Here's what I'm willing to do to change it. Maybe it's a new book, a new mentor, a guide, a new church community, a new friend, a new service commitment, being of service, just sticking your hand and heart out in the community. Tough times for a lot of people. So that's the flip side of being inordinately grateful. The people I guide, I encourage them to journal. I have journals that go back to the 80s, and it's basically documenting I'll say it my way. I literally feel in the presence of the God of my understanding in that quiet time to write and just express freely things I'm grateful for and where I need guidance, and to sketch a little picture and just to honor a few minutes, because you talked earlier, well, how do we do this when we're busy? We make time for what is most important. So most of us don't miss flights. We know the time. We're going to do everything we can to be on time and make that flight, because we know the pain of missing a flight. So if we have that same urgency for things where we're making commitments to others, especially if you're in a young marriage with young children, honoring from a self-awareness, okay, stressful time for mom and dad. Kids are welcome to the whole new show as kids, right? This is all new to them. They're free and playful and learning. The higher understanding is, okay, Lord, I'm going to need a lot of help here. I'm going to need some community. I'm going to need family, and I'm going to need to enlist friends and teachers and build a community around of this new human. And then to honor who we are. Who are we from a value standpoint? So in our family, we say God, number one, family, number two, everything else. Business, career, all that's a byproduct of faith. And then family as a unit, we could talk about anything openly, including the incredibly difficult things that every family is going to go through. But no secrets, no silos. We talk about it, and our own self-awareness, our own introspection and higher understanding. We're honoring the unit of the family. And the goal is to be a healthy family and to help any of us who's struggling in any aspect from a place of sometimes tough love. Interventions, especially when there's addiction or abuse or self-harm or any risk of doing something that you would regret later. Because especially if your financial security is at risk, the bottom rung of the hierarchy of needs are basic needs: housing, food, water, clothing, hopefully a job, a wage where we can make enough to feel safe. When those things are at risk, people do things they otherwise regret.
You're absolutely right. I think it's trying to be, just in my life too, is trying to be proactive with those types of things, because they're going to happen. I mean, things are going to go awry, and trying to be like, okay, what am I doing if I'm in a rhythm that's good, and those things come up, all right, I'm in a good place. I think times in my life that have probably been, I've just not made that a priority of the rhythms of talking well to myself or taking time, the priorities type of thing. Well, I need to do this. I need to do work. But when I actually look at my day, I go, I can carve this out. There's nobody waiting for me at the other line. Even though I think that's going to happen, I can take that half hour, and really focus on this because at the end of the day, honestly, I just don't want to. But the having that self-awareness to go, oh, okay, why am I not doing this? What am I replacing it with?
Yeah. Reading is a big deal. A lot of people have a hard time reading. I get it. Busy, distracted, whatever, to sit and physically read a book is hard. However, listening to book, Audible, whatever, next best thing. I do both. But to not read is to put yourself at an incredible disadvantage. And is watching an interview, a conversation like this, podcast like this, uh, similar to reading? Yes, you could glean something. However, the framework of a book and a table of contents and the credentials of an author and his or her story, the ability to relate concepts to us that help us see ourselves in a different light, develop a higher understanding, to be more introspective, contemplative. It's just part of human waking up, which is why we're here, to love.
Because I love books. I need to read more books. That's like my thing, is trying to spend time. So you're preaching to me of like, yep, I need to do it. What are 3 books you would recommend to, or what were books you recommend to your audience or your to kind of like, if they haven't done it, they should absolutely just pick up these 3 books?
All right. So I have a list of books categorized, suggested reading, because I have a little book club called Clarity Connect. So to answer your question, I would pick off the top of my head, knowing my list the way I do, Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach. It was written in 1970. I love The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. Phenomenal body of work. That's more spirituality, philosophy, communication, negotiation, business, career, interviews. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
Great. I love Chris
written
Voss.
in 2016. To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink, 2012.
Okay. Yep.
Probably the most important career or business skill set to have is the ability to verbally and express yourself in writing clearly.
That's why I think books are really great. I mean, you hit it on kind of the head of like, you could listen to a podcast, but podcasts are, like this one. It's not like we spent a year preparing for this podcast and thinking about what we were going to say and do everything like that. Not saying it's not going to be good, but it's just it's an interview style. It's different, but I love books that have shown the test of time as well. I think there's a phrase that I like. It's, if you have an old problem, read an old book. So if
Good one.
And if you have a new problem, read a new book.
I like that.
So that's what I like. Like, I've got these ones. I'm looking at my books up here. I got C.S. Lewis. I've got Canterbury of Canterbury. I've got, these older books that are around like older problems.
Yeah.
And then I've got the Almanac of Naval, the Anthology of Balaji, which are newer problems. They're talking about technology and talking about things like that. But I heard that phrase, and then that's why I look at, the Bible, and you look at Proverbs, you look at these things, like these are old
Psalms,
problems.
Proverbs, James, and each of the books has what I call ageless wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have a literal interpretation, a metaphysical, a mystical. They each have their distinctions and their merits.
They're so layered. Yeah, it's
life
so
application. True, and so do the great classics. I'm a huge Og Mandino fan. Those early, predominantly, I want to say, prosperity-led spiritual people.
Mm-hmm.
Napoleon Hill,
Yeah.
James Allen, Dale Carnegie,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
timeless,
Yeah.
ageless wisdom.
Yeah, I think that's where you get you get all these new books coming out, but I forget who said that. I mean, it was just like, oh, that makes sense. Like where can you get books that stand the test of time?
Yeah. Uh, just a sideline the people who didn't grow up with strong fathers
Mm,
tend to have we talk a lot in my coaching sessions about how to be a father if you didn't have a good one. And so I use the word mentor, coach, facilitator, guide, teacher, whatever, writer, storyteller for what I do. You have your way of doing it, but that's a big deal right now.
yeah, I think it's interesting too of culture. I know we keep going to the side tangent of this too, but like the individualization of people, especially in like America, of like you're going to make your own dreams. I mean, I have the question too when you're bringing up these guys that are going, man, I'm unhappy. One thing that showed me about happiness or whatever it was going to Mexico, building houses for people who didn't have houses, and seeing how happy they were with, they weren't, they were still struggling and trying to get by,
Yep.
but there was happiness found there in community and family and all these different things. And so that's a huge thing for us and our families, to be grateful for the things that we have. And I think
Yeah.
the media, especially, you look at any marketing, watch any commercials, it's all about, you're not good enough, you deserve this more. So even the programming is, you have to combat that in a way of, because that's how you sell
Yeah.
things.
Culture shock. I mean, that's an instant shift in your level of perspective or understanding,
Hmm.
especially to travel internationally to any developing nation or where there's abject poverty.
Yeah, I mean, there's I'm gonna even look at my we play game, video games or everything like that. It's all made to be like, no, you need to be better. Here's a leaderboard. You're not on the leaderboard. These types of things where, it's subconscious. We talk about the subconscious. It's, 30 under 30, 40 under 40. Like all of those types of things are, you can, I mean, for me in my way, what I've tried to do is, I've had those times when I've looked at those things and be like, wow, I'm not enough. But if I can look at that and go, wow, that's cool that they've done that. That's when I know it's a good shift. I'm in a healthy place. Is I'm not going, wow, I'm not good enough. It's, wow, that's cool for them. I can celebrate them.
Yeah. That's be again present enough to think about celebrating.
Hmm. No, that's great. I know we're getting into about 40 minutes of, I know we could probably talk another 40 minutes about all different types of things, books especially. I mean, I think books are the untapped secret of so much of just wisdom. And you sit down with somebody and you're like, it's like having coffee with somebody. Like this is like approaching it now. Like, who is it? There's some guys that talk about active reading and how to read. I remember one big thing for reading too is a book. It's like, you're allowed to put down a bad book, but oh
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a table of contents
yeah,
and boom, boom. It's like everything else. The more we do it, the better we get at it.
or
I enjoy it.
and you can go look at a chapter and be like, I want you to read that chapter first. Like all of that freedom of it, of
Yeah.
and yeah, I think it's just great. Let me ask this. Where can people, I actually thought of two people that I need to try to reach out to that would benefit from your services. But where can people reach you if they're listening to this right now and they're going, I like this Cliff guy and I am stuck and I would like a shift in my life. And I would love to just have a conversation with Cliff about what he's doing. Find his newsletter, find his book club. I'll put it in the description. We'll make sure that people can find it here. But where can people find you?
Thanks for asking. So first place to find me is cliffordjones.com. And then I run a newsletter off of Substack on Medium, but you can find me at theclarityletter.com, theclarityletter.com, and cliffordjones.com. So
Let's go.
Shift is the process I use for executives, professionals, and then works great for teams. was people individually understand their toolkit. But I just finished the book, the career book. People are really struggling right now. And if you're struggling with your career, just get the next best job you can get. The best employee you can be. Learn how to be heads up, on time, early, like whatever is above and beyond. So you learn those essential life skills and build your network, build your knowledge base in addition to your faith, because that's how I went from restaurants to owning businesses to writing books and being able to hang out with cool guys like you, Dallas, on a Friday.
That's great. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Cliff. Thank you for your time. I'm sure we'll do this again. I'd love to, even different kinds of subjects that we run into. No, I appreciate your time and love the work you're doing. I think you just do it in a way that needs to happen and is needed for so many people. There's so many people that need this type of work and can benefit from this. So thank you so much. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me, Dallas. Great to see you.